In this video, I'm going to tell you about 6 interesting places located on the Oregon Pacific coast that you may not be aware of. We visited all of these places and they really lived up to our expectations. So let's get into it. The first one is the Devil's Punch Bowl Arch, which is located about 8 miles north of Newport, Oregon, just east of the US 101. The Devil's Punch Bowl Arch is a 16-million-year-old volcanic basalt formation on the coast that is very interesting. When it was being deposited, some of the rock underneath the basalt, when the volcanic material was being poured out, was the sedimentary type, which is more susceptible to the vagaries of the northern Pacific storms when the waves come rolling in. You can see that on the north side of the formation that the rock has been eaten away. When we visited the Devil's Punch Bowl Arch a couple weeks ago, we also decided to visit the nearby beach, which is the north stretch of Beverly Beach. This beach at the north end is frequented by surfers who are just learning how to surf. The nearby beach, it's about 1.5 miles of beautiful sand beach, which extends from Beverly Beach State Park to the Devil's Punch Bowl State Park. And we took a nice long walk. I highly recommend it. The next interesting place to visit near Newport, Oregon is perhaps a little unconventional. It's a bridge. This bridge is 0.6 of a mile long. It's really one of the icons of the Newport area. It's the Yaquina Bay Bridge, and it's 85 years old. But don't let that stop you. This bridge has transported nearly 200 million cars and trucks in its lifetime, and it's still going strong. Right now, the state of Oregon is in the process of renewing and revigorating the metal structure that supports the bridge, but the views are just as wonderful as they ever were. The only caution I would provide is when you walk out to the viewing area where the bridge superstructure starts, the pedestrian walk area only has an outer guardrail to keep you from falling off the 130-foot tall structure, which is a good thing that that's there, but in this author's opinion, it would also be good if the bridge had a handrail between the pedestrian walk area and the cars. So I highly recommend that as you walk along the pedestrian walk area, that you grab a hold of the outer handrail, which is concrete in the first section and steel in the second section. But the view out over the jetty and then on out to the Pacific is amazing, and the overview of the bay, the overview of the port in the bay is amazing. The next interesting place to visit near Newport, Oregon is Yaquina Head, which is a headlands located on the north end of Newport, Oregon. Yaquina Head is a collection of interesting things which are on a landmass which is managed by the Bureau of Land Management. Attractions include remarkable tide pools rich in aquatic life, beautiful rocky and craggy nesting grounds for seals and seabirds. Yaquina Head also has a lighthouse, and finally, Yaquina Head has a visitor center. The best time to look at tide pools is at low tide. To get the most opportunities for looking at the aquatic life, one should arrive there promptly at low tide. Yaquina Head has a visitor center which has lots of displays that are fairly interesting that talk about history and about the wildlife and unique and interesting things related to the Pacific coast of Oregon, and is well worth a visit there to see the displays that they have up. If you'd like to learn more about Oregon coast wildlife, come and spend a day at Yaquina Head. The next interesting place on the Pacific coast near Newport that you may not be aware of is Seal Rock Beach. It's another volcanic rock deposit that is only about 5 miles south of Newport, Oregon, at the town of Seal Rock. There are several sections of beach that you can walk and observe the tide pools and also the volcanic rock deposits, which have been eroded over the 16 million years to make some very interesting shapes. And after you finish your walk, you can stop at a local restaurant called Luna Sea. And if you run the name together, Luna Sea, I don't think that was an accident. I think that was a little joke that the restaurant owner kind of played on himself. Outside the Luna Sea restaurant, you can also observe an old historic fishing boat like that which was used traditionally in the early 1900s. The next interesting place on the Pacific coast near Newport that you may not be aware of is the Oregon Coast Aquarium. Located adjacent to Yaquina Bay, is a very impressive Pacific Coast Zoo. The Oregon Coast Aquarium has hosted more than 15 million visitors since it opened doors in the 1990s. It is more of a Pacific Coast Zoo than it is an aquarium. Certainly the displays of the fish and their habitats are impressive and very interesting to view and very beautifully presented. But the extent of the exhibits far exceeds just the simple displays of fish. The Newport Aquarium has not only the coral reef fish and aquatic creatures that one would see near Florida or the western coast of Mexico in the warmer waters, but also in the colder Oregon coastal waters where there are oyster reefs, if you will, that fish swim around and gather around. It's quite interesting for people who are not from the coast, who don't live on the coast and aren't unfamiliar with the birds and the animals and the fish that live here. It's quite educational and very interesting.
Here,
Yeah.
I guess we leave here and we go to the right and go over to the sharks, sea otters, sea lions, and octopus cave,
Okay.
and then to the parking lot. So let's go.
And even though the ticket price is kind of pricey at $25 a person for an adult, it's still worth it, and I recommend it. But plan to spend a whole day because at $25 you want to get your money's worth. But it's a very nice place to spend a day. The next interesting place on the Pacific coast near Newport that you may not be aware of is Cape Perpetua. It's only about 20 miles south of Newport, and there are many things to see there. Just past Yaquina, Oregon, is the visitor center that tells all about the trails that you can hike, and also All Trails is another good resource to learn about the trails in this huge deposit of volcanic basalt that is like 13 or 14 miles from the north to the south. The Hesita Lighthouse is at the south end of the area, and there are several hiking trails that go to the east up the 16 million year old basalt rock deposit. Also very interesting are the tide pools, which are part of the Cape Perpetua Preserve. There's also some interesting rocks at the water's edge. One of the rock formations has a large circular area of eroded basalt where, similar to the Devil's Punch Bowl Arch, where there was sedimentary rock underneath, only this is a much smaller area, and at high tide it puts on quite a show of water splashing around and flowing up into the air. One caution though is 4 or 5 people every year die because they get too close to it. It puts on quite a show, but you don't want to get sucked into the waterworks because it's can be hazardous to your health. Very hazardous to your health.